Welcome to Big Block Nation, a channel where we learn about, talk about, and only feature nothing but big blocks. Big block Chevys, big block Fords, and big block Dodges. Now, I know that there's tons and tons of conversion options these days. LS conversions, Coyote conversions, 2JZ conversions, electric conversions, you name it. There is tons and tons of options. But I believe there will be a trend coming. There's an entire generation like me that didn't get to experience the big block era. And once you've experienced a real big block that's built, you're ruined and you want to experience more. So that's what this is about. Anytime we are learning something about big blocks, because I am no expert, I'm not claiming to be, but we are working on a lot of builds and we are learning a lot as we go. So I just want to pass the tips on that I have found out about as we go along. I'm sure they're all out there already, but if you're watching my channel and you're into this, you might learn a thing or two. So we're talking about square bodies and big blocks today. This is my 78 GMC Jimmy. It has a 6-inch suspension lift, 3-inch body lift, and 40-inch swampers on 20-inch wheels. It originally, when I got it, had a 461 big block on propane. I switched it over to gasoline and then had problems with the heads. So I had the heads rebuilt, put a great big nasty cam in it, gear drive, and produced way more power than I was planning on. Then we had problems with it, found out that it did not have the compression we need for that camshaft. So out it came, and now there is a 468 in there. Now the 461 here, because of the camshaft, makes way more power than the 468 that I have in there. But the 468 is a much more reliable motor. And that's what we're going for at this point. We want good power, pulling power with reliability, because we got to rebuild that one. So let's start with the difference. What is a 461 and what's a 468? Well, I see this question all over the forums online when you Google it. There is tons and tons of guys asking this question. A 461 is a 454 that's bored 30 over. A 468 is a 454 that's bored 60 over. And should you be concerned if it's bored 60 over? Not if it's a big block. My friend Steve Brandt, who passed away quite a few years ago, he was a top fuel engine builder. He built 7,500 horse blown motors. His specialty was Chevy big blocks. And his daily driver was a square body Chevy that had a 454 that was bored 100 over. And I can't quite remember, I think that made it somewhere between 509 and 511 cubic inches. But that was his daily driver in a square body that had 40s on it as well, and he went mud bogging on the weekends, so he added 350 shot of nitrous to it, and he ran that all the time on the weekends. Then he pulled the motor out, put it in a crew cab dually square body Chevy, and used it to haul his race trailer. And it lasted for years. That's how awesome they are. You can build them strong and they will last. And after experiencing quite a few big blocks the last few years, I am totally hooked. So, when you stick one in a square body, let's start with the lift kit. Because this has a 6-inch lift, and it's a little dark under there so you can't really see, but I'll explain it anyway. Right there is your transmission crossmember. And when you do a 6-inch lift, especially in a Jimmy, because the short wheelbase, you have to put a 1-inch spacer at least in here. Those are the spacers that usually sit on top of the frame, just to correct your drive shaft angle a little bit so that your U-joints are not going to explode on you. And when you do that, it makes the engine lean back a little bit. And I was really hoping to run tall valve covers on this, just because I really like the look of the tall valve covers. But I could not do that on here because they were bumping into the firewall because of the engine leaning back. Couldn't even get the bolts in. So if you are running a lift kit in such a truck and you have dropped a cross member, you probably won't be able to fit tall valve covers on. Next week, I am bringing in the 81 1-ton dually square body 4x4. And the 1-tons apparently have a frame that is 1.5 inches to 2 inches taller than the 1/2 tons and 3/4 tons. That truck also has a 6-inch suspension lift and 3-inch body lift. So, of course, I will have to try out a set of tall valve covers just to see if they fit. I don't imagine there will be any difference, but got to try it and find out. All right, what else do we learn on this thing? Well, because this has 300 shot of nitrous in it, it's currently set up for 100 right now. We installed a TCI 3500 stall converter that is good for nitrous. And what I learned about those is if you are using your factory flex plate, you are going to have to drill out the 3 holes in your flex plate. TCI does supply new bolts with their converter, but they are bigger than your factory ones. And it would suck to install your motor and transmission torque converter, go to bolt it up, and find out, crap, I got to drill out the holes. You can do it under there. It just sucks to do under there as opposed to doing it while the motor's out. Just so you know, I imagine if you're using a TCI flex plate, it's probably meant and built for this, so you shouldn't have to drill anything out. All right, next on the list, let's talk headers, because this is an important one. Now, we built a C10 square body with a small block, and we were able to find multiple options for headers. You could get 1 5/8, 1 3/4, 1 7/8. We upgraded to 1 7/8. It made a massive difference in power. It made a massive difference in the tone that the engine made, in the exhaust note. It changed everything. Once you go to big block, your options are 1 3/4, and that's it. I have not found a single company that makes any other options. Nobody has an 1 7/8 header that I have been able to find in any catalog or online or at any parts store. I have been stuck with 1 3/4 headers, and I have actually noticed the difference in the sound because we've done quite a few big blocks now, and using the 1 3/4 headers kind of limits you when you're playing around with mufflers and stuff, which I really enjoy doing. So you may have to, if you want a bigger header, you might be building it yourself. All right. I know I had one more tip that I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember it at the moment. So let's talk about this one. This right here is an L29 454. Those are from 1996 and newer. Chevy pickups, a lot of them had that. I believe that's actually where they all came from, was the Chevy pickups. I'm sure they had a few other models that they stuffed them in, but mainly you can find them in Chevy pickups. And the L29 454 is a little bit different. I believe they are a different intake. They have the Vortex style heads, I believe. But what I was really wanting to find out with this one, I was hoping to bolt a Turbo 400 up to this thing and stick it in my 69 Chevy, and apparently you can do it, but there are some differences. And I actually have not experienced it myself. I read it online, but I've read so much online that I can't remember it right now. But you're going to find spacing between the transmission and the shaft to the engine is a little bit different on the newer 454 versus the old one. So if you're trying to put a newer 454 in front of a Turbo 400, you got some Googling to do. So that means that if you're going the other way, putting a 4L80 behind an old one, there's a little bit of figuring out to do. Guys are doing it. I just haven't experienced it myself yet. But we will be doing that at some point because I have a lot of them laying around. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Just give you guys some tips with big blocks and square bodies of what we learned.